Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another short eulogy. Yeah, I say short, but the last one ended up being like 20 minutes long. But that was mainly because I did the reading of the creepypasta, which, I wanted to do to make sure everybody got what I was talking about. If I post the description, if I post the link in the description, half the people who show up don't actually check the description, even if you make big bold letters saying, "Hey, look at this." They'll just still go past it. So they'll be like, "Well, I have never read this story, so I don't know what he's talking about," and they'll leave. And the other issue I had was I wanted to put the reading of the creepypasta in its own individual video, but if I did that, that runs the risk of someone showing up to my channel searching for that creepypasta, and they'd be like, "Oh wow, cool, here it is," and then they would leave without seeing the separate video that contains my commentary on it. So I don't know if that's the best format to do it, but we'll figure it out as we go. For this one, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to just post the link and maybe some screenshots. I guess we'll see how this one turns out. This story in particular doesn't quite lend itself, I feel, doesn't quite lend itself to being read aloud because it's set up like a series of forum posts. And I'm choosing this creepypasta in particular because this one is annoying as hell. The guy who wrote it, he got like a fucking book on Amazon or some shit. Now, it's like a compendium of creepypastas or something. I don't know. I didn't really look into it, but I know for a fact that that doesn't really mean much. Any jackass can write a book and put it on Amazon. But this is annoying because this story is always heralded as so good. This is like a staple of creepypasta lore. And this one's annoying because it's still posted almost like a meme. People still try to role play into a forum and stuff. They'll say "Hey, has anyone ever heard of this thing?" You've probably even heard of this one in some way, shape, or form. And it's really dumb and it's really forced when people try to take it to that level and all that. But props, credit where credit is due. It's good that it has that kind of longevity, I guess, or it has that ability to be kind of memed. That's clever, but it's also really annoying because Slender Man was the same thing, and look how that turned out. Anyway, let's get into it and see what we can do here. So as I mentioned, the story is a series of laid out in a series of forum posts, and the basic premise is a bunch of people trying to figure out a show that they watched in their childhood that they don't quite remember. Okay, so does anyone remember this kids show? It was called Cove, and it must have been 6 or 7. I never found reference to it anywhere, so I think it was on a local station around 1971 or 72. I lived in Ironton at the time. Wait, back up. 71 or 72? Jeez, man, boomers. Am I right, guys? Anyway, I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on at a weird time, like 4 p.m. Is 4 p.m. really that weird of a time? For a kid's show? I mean, I got out of school when I was younger around 3? Well, I got home at 3:30-ish, sometimes 4 most days. And I'd watch Dragon Ball Z and Gundam and all that stuff, and that was, that was 4-ish p.m. Not to mention some less popular shows get weird time slots and stuff. So I mean, I don't think it's that weird. Anyway, nitpicking, sorry. It seems really familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland and was 9 years old in 72. Oh, good. Cove. Was it about pirates? Brilliant deduction, Mike. I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl. Okay. Yes, okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from parts of other dolls, real low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll, looked like an antique that didn't belong in the body. I don't remember what station this was. I don't think it was WTSF, though. Okay, so first of all, immediately he remembers this. Okay, oh yeah, Pirate Percy. It's why didn't he just say that in the beginning to help kind of fill in the details? But anyway, I'll get to this a little bit more later. Yeah, we get the idea that it's yes, it was a kid's show, and yes, look, it's a weird, amalgamation of doll parts. Get it? It's some kind of strange thing. Someone somehow thought that this was a good idea for children. Oh, I don't know, it's getting kind of weird, isn't it? Now, let's keep going. Alright, sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know exactly what show you mean, Sky Shale. I think Cove ran for only a couple months in 71, not 72. I was 12, and I watched it a few times with my brother. It was Channel 58, whatever station that was. My mom would let me switch to it after the news. Let me see what I remember. It took place. Oh, hold on, back up. I fucking hate when someone posts in like a forum discussion saying like, let me think, or let me see what I remember. It's like just pre-type your response. Pre-type your fucking response, so we don't have to sit there and be like, okay, why would you give this unnecessary like these filler details? Anyway, it took place in Candle Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. Okay, we gathered that. The pirate ship was called the Laughing Stock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And there was Calliope music constantly playing. Okay, don't remember the girl's name, Janice or Jade or something? I think it was Janice. Thank you, Jaren. Memories flooded back when you mentioned the Laughing Stock in Channel 58. I remember the bow of the ship was a wooden smiling face with the lower jaw submerged. It looked like it was swallowing the sea, and it had that awful Ed Wynn voice and laugh. Ed Wynn voice and laugh? What is it? Hold on. 1886. Fucking boomers, man. I especially remember how jarring it was when they switched from the wooden plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked. Haha, I remember now too. Do you remember this part, Skyshale? You have to go. How do you read that? Inside! Like, you have to go inside. Anyway, is the tension building yet? Ugh, Mike, I got a chill reading that. Oh, yes. Everyone, the tension is building. I may have spoke too soon. He's telling us that he got a chill as to imply that something unnerving is going on. Yes, I remember. That's what the ship always told Percy when there was a spooky place he had to go in, like a cave or a dark room where the treasure was. It's like, okay, this guy clearly fucking remembers everything and just vomits all this like unnecessary exposition that could have been facilitated a lot better through the conversation. It's like, you know, I kind of do this stuff too. Like when I meet someone and like I'll be like, hey, you like Metal Gear Solid? They'll be like, yeah, I like that game. And you kind of test to see how much they know or how much they're actually kind of into it. So you don't like embarrass yourself with like how nerdy you come across to people and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's like I get the mentality, but I don't think it lends itself too well to a fucking horror story. And that's what what annoys me about this, because it's like that much exposition right off the bat. It's like, okay, clearly, why don't you just tell us? You're already just telling us, so just tell us everything else. But no, it gets better. Let's keep going. Okay, and the camera would push in on Laughingstock's face with each pause. You have to go inside, with his two eyes askew and that flopping foam jaw and the fishing line that opened and closed it. It just looks so cheap and awful. Wait, okay, so I'm getting conflicting messages here now. Is it creepy? Because you said in the beginning, I gotta chill, but now you just said it looks so cheap and awful. So which is it? Is it shitty or is it spooky? You guys remember the villain? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above really tall, narrow teeth. What? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above really tall, narrow teeth. Okay, so his face was a handlebar mustache, and he just had teeth jutting out from, underneath it, I guess. You see, good writing, and the beauty of literature in general is it allows you to immerse yourself, and it forces you to conjure up these images yourself. But no matter what I conjure up here, it just looks fucking stupid. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is really spooky sounding, but tall and narrow teeth. You guys get it? It's spooky because it's unnatural. I honestly thought the villain was Pirate Percy. I was about 5 when this show was on. Nightmare fuel. Nightmare fuel. Nothing scarier than a fucking middle-aged man memeing that hard. That wasn't the villain, the puppet with the mustache. That was the villain's sidekick, Horace Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of the mustache. I used to think that meant he had only one eye. Okay. But yeah, the villain was another marionette, the Skintaker. I can't believe what they let us watch back then. Oh my god, fuck off. It's like, come on. It's like, you couldn't think of anything more subtle. Like, you couldn't think of something that at least left something to the imagination. I mean, and the thing is, they already did that with, the villain's sidekick, the Horace Horrible. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. It's like, that sounds kid-friendly. But then they just they completely just pull the friggin' rug out from the whole thing with the Skintaker. It's like, oh, I want this to sound scary, and I want the main villain to have an impact when he shows up. So we got to name him something really, really spooky sounding, but like talk about it like it's normal. No, that's stupid. It's like, think of something else. Maybe like I don't know, fucking anything else. Jesus H. Christ, the Skintaker. What kind of a kids show were we watching? I seriously could not look at the screen when the Skintaker showed up. Oh my god, the amount of times they're saying it and the name just literally loses all of its fucking efficacy. If it, well, this is assuming it even had some kind of spooky element to it, which it doesn't. It's still stupid and on the nose. But the amount of times they're saying it just loses its potency every time. He just descended out of nowhere on his strings. Just a dirty skeleton. Ah! Skeletons! Wearing that brown top hat and cape, and his glass eyes that were too big for his skull. Christ almighty. Yeah, just to re-emphasize, guys, I am unnerved by this. Wasn't his top hat and cloak all sewn up crazily? Was that supposed to be children's skin? It's like, okay, try a little harder, guys. Yeah, I think so. Remember his mouth didn't open and close? His jaw just slid back and forth. I remember the little girl said, "Why does your mouth move like that?" And the Skintaker didn't look at the girl, but at the camera and said, "To grind your skin." I'm so relieved that other people remember this terrible show. Okay, so is it terrible or is it scary? Or is it both? Can it be both? Can it... Would you describe something as that? Because to me, terrible has a... I mean, I understand that, like, you know, it's in antiquity, it was associated with fear and whatnot. But to see people, like, use it in the context of scary now, it doesn't seem to add up. For example, like, when someone says, "Hey, you got to see this terrible show," it's like, you don't think that's a scary show. You just think that that's just a shitty show. Anyway, like, you get what I mean? I used to have this awful memory, a bad dream I had where the opening jingle ended. The show faded in from black and all the characters were there, but the camera was just cutting to each of their faces, and they were just screaming. And the puppets and marionettes were flailing spastically and all just screaming. The girl was just moaning and crying like she had been through hours of this. I woke up many times from that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it. Okay. When the marionettes were flailing spastically. Guys, nothing gets me, like, freaked out more than imagining a bunch of puppets flailing spastically. Like, okay, like, wild, wacky, inflatable arm flailing tube man. Yeah, that's what I imagine. That's what I imagine, honestly. Okay, he used to wet the bed, too. Cool. I don't think that was a dream. I remember that. I remember that was an episode. No. Not possible. There was no plot or anything. I mean, literally just standing in place crying and screaming for the whole show. Maybe I'm manufacturing the memory because you said that, but I swear to God, I remember seeing what you described. They just screamed. Oh God, yes. The little girl Janice, I remember seeing her shake, and the Skintaker screaming through his gnashing teeth, his jaw careening so wildly I thought it would come off its wire hinges. I turned it off, and it was the last time I watched. I ran to tell my brother, and we didn't have the courage to turn it back on. Okay, well, thanks for that reinforcing idea that it's crazy and spooky what you saw. I visited my mom today at the nursing home. I asked her about when I was little in the early 70s, when I was 8 or 9, and if she remembered a kids show, Cove. She said she was surprised I could remember that, and I asked why, and she said, "Because I used to think it was so strange that you said, 'I'm gonna go watch Cove now, Mom,' and then you would tune the TV to static and just watch dead air for 30 minutes. You had a big imagination with your little pirate show." But it wasn't just in his imagination, was it? Considering a bunch of other people have come forward and all tell tales of a creepy force reaching out with its over-the-top and pathetic attempts at horror. Ooh, what could they be remembering? I can never purge this story from my memory. Fuck, that's the true horror.